very excited to show you how you can use an easy paper stencil, extruded cane slices, and of course polymer clay and pastels to make a beautiful pair of modern clay earrings. Hi, I'm Michaela from Learn Polymer Clay, and let's dive in. So I have properly conditioned the polymer clay, and in fact I'm working with true yellow Fimo, true yellow, true blue and magenta polymer clay, and I have prepared more yellow polymer clay because I'm going to use it to make the base of the earrings. And then I just used the extruder to cut out round pieces. You can also use a round cutter to cut these pieces, and I've decided to apply a little bit of gold, imitation gold metal leaf on top of some of the pieces, but in fact you don't see much of this in the finished canes, so you can totally skip this step. And then I just piled them up. I put yellow, magenta, blue, yellow, magenta, blue, and some pieces have metal leaf on top, but you can totally skip this part. You don't see much in the finished canes. And then I rolled this piled log of round pieces. I rolled it against my tile until it was the right size to fit inside the extruder. And I'm going to use a small square disc to make the extruded canes, and then you'll just have to action the lever, the extruder, and then I used my sharp blade, and then you'll just have to use the sharp blade and cut thin slices, and you'll see the colors inside these slices changing slightly while you progress cutting the cane. And this is the beautiful part of using an extruder. And you have large extruded canes, and you will be able to cut lots and lots of slices and embellish your designs with such retro cane slices. The more you cut, the more you will notice the change in colors inside the cutout pieces, and this is the beauty of using an extruder. And this is a tool that really is a fantastic tool for polymer clay. And this is the metal cutter that I intend to use to cut the earring shapes. I usually make a polymer clay piece for the back, so I've just put some yellow polymer clay passed initially through the setting number 3 of my Atlas pastel machine, and I put it on top of a texture plate, and then I put everything through the pastel machine through the largest setting. And now I have a beautiful texture for the back. I applied the second sheet of polymer clay passed through the setting number 3 again on top. I gently pressed everything together using the roller. Now I have a beautiful block of clay, and I am going to use this metal cutter to cut out the shape. And because I don't have a second metal with the flipped mirror shape, I'm just going to turn the cutter and use the side that you would not normally use to cut the beads, but I'm going to apply pressure using the roller because I don't want to hurt my hands. And if necessary, I might use the craft knife and or the blade to finish to cut beautiful margins. You'll have to use your tools and smooth off the edges. And now I have a base to work with. And next I am going to use a piece of paper and scissors to make an easy paper stencil. Really easy, believe me. I took a small piece of paper and then I fold it in half, and I am going to fold again in half several times, and then I'm going to cut a zigzag margin, and then you just have to open it up, cut it in half because we are making earrings, so I will use one stencil for one earring and the other for the second earring focal, and then I just pressed the paper stencil gently, of course, into the clay. And I'm going to use Magenta pastel and an applicator to color half of the focal piece. And of course, if I'm coloring the right side on one bead, I will color the left side on the other bead to have an interesting mirror pattern on the pieces. And the more pastel powder you apply, the more intense the color it will be. And then you'll just have to blow over your piece to remove the excess powder, and keep baby wipes near. They are very handy when working with pastels and in general when working with polymer clay. I noticed that I did not have a great contour in one place, and you'll just have to pick the extruded cane slices that you prefer to embellish your piece. I decided to use mostly the pieces with a yellow dot in the center because I wanted to enhance the yellow background with this detail, and I also decided to add a little bit of imitation gold metal leaf on some of the pieces of the extruded pieces, because I wasn't very happy that there was no effect after using round pieces in decorated with metal leaf inside the extruder. And of course you'll have to use parchment paper and the roller and gently press these pieces into the base. And then I decided to remove part of the metal leaf to have an interesting effect. And if you notice corners of the extruded pieces sticking out, you should use your blade or the craft knife and cut them and remove them. And I was on the point, I was preparing to put these pieces into the oven, but then I felt it was not quite what I expected. I felt there was something missing about these pieces, and then I decided to use ultramarine blue pan pastel and make a second parallel zigzag line and color the one side, 1/3 of the piece with blue. And I think I surely like these pieces more now with this pattern. And again, you'll have to blow on top of your pieces to remove the excess powder, and then you'll just have to bake your pieces for 40 minutes in the preheated oven. I bake my pieces on parchment paper because I've made the front and the back in the same time, and then you'll have to let the clay cool down, and we are ready to apply resin. And I personally like the interesting faux glass effect that the resin brings to pieces, especially when using imitation gold metal leaf for accents. And so I applied the UV resin from, let's say, the center of the pieces. I put my pieces on metal cutters to brace them up, and I've used baby wipes to remove any resin drippings. And so I applied resin in the center of the piece, and then I used the tip of the bottle to spread the resin, and if necessary add more resin. You'll have to check from the sides to make sure you don't have gaps, meaning areas where you would need to put more resin, and then just use a heat gun and remove any air bubbles. You'll notice that the colors got a little bit darker after applying resin. Still, I personally like the pieces with resin on top, and of course I applied resin on the second piece. I've made sure that everything looks okay, and then I used the UV lamp to cure the pieces for 2 consecutive minutes. And then you just have to use a drilling tool. I'm using a hand drilling tool, and I poked a hole from front to back, and then I'm going to finish the hole from back to front. And I'm using a thin drill. If necessary, you can use a larger drill to enlarge the hole, but I'm going to use small gold colored jump rings, and they fit inside this hole so that I don't have to enlarge them. And this is the metal stud that I intend to use for these earrings. This is a very simple, minimalist stud earring, hollow stud earring, and I thought this would be perfect for these earrings because I wanted to have the attention on the focal piece, and these are the finished pieces. As always, I hope that you like this clay idea. I encourage you to take this inspiration and use it in your work with polymer clay. And if you like this idea, here's another idea for a paper stencil design that you can use in your work with polymer clay.